My love for my husband has been gradually dying since he forced me to choose between an open marriage and divorce. My husband, Leo, 34, and I, 30, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses. Swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life. It was just sex, etc. I did ask if there was someone else. He said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him. But at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum. Open marriage or divorce. I chose an open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STD every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time, but he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It killed me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister, Katie, 26F, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie, 30F, set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised, but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jessie helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for sex and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have sex eventually, but it was all just casual and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself. So I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best sex I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of sex you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I am currently seeing 2 different men, alongside Leo. One, Mark, 38M, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven, 25M, is very casual. Mostly just hanging out and sex. They know about my open marriage, other relationships, and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He was always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before sex. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tried to initiate sex a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more, and he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at sex. Katie and Jessie have been wanting me to divorce for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turnoff for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asks to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Relevant comments. Comment 1, divorce. You're happier without him. He would only want to close the marriage because he can't get laid, not that he only loves you. OP. We've just been together for so long that the idea of him not being there feels weird. Which sounds stupid since I have 2 other partners, so it's not like I'll be lonely. But Leo was a part of my life for so long that for him to not be there just doesn't feel right. But you're probably right. OP on her husband dismissing her feelings regarding the open marriage. OP, I really do think Leo does love me, in his own way. Even when he was more active in the open marriage, he still made time for me and still did a lot with him. For me. But you're probably right on the divorce. Comment 2. Part of the issue is the main relationship is supposed to be the important one, so the whole one weekend a month for us time wasn't enough. OP. I actually did argue that in the beginning, but he insisted that he needed to keep his weekends free. He did spend a lot of time at home during the weekdays, so in his mind, that made up for it. Comment 3. What if he finds evidence of your open marriage and frames you as a cheater and then brings you to the cleaners? At this point, I wouldn't trust Leo. What you're experiencing is normalcy. You're used to his presence in your life. But how long are you going to live like this? OP. Jesse had the same train of thought of you and actually took screenshots of his dating profiles during the beginning of the open marriage. She also told me to save screenshots of any texts we had about the open marriage. I don't think Leo would do that, but I also didn't think he'd ever ask for an open marriage. So what do I know? Update 1. Hi everyone. I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason, that I was a bit overwhelmed. Especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing, divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me still loves my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I can't just forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand when he watch TV together. Leo has done a lot of shitty things, but he really isn't the big asshole people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him, a part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me that ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it, but he didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was. But he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, not like I used to. He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage, I think my love for him died and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was, but he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just sex on the side for him. He only did hookups and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved me. But he thought I was falling in love with my partners and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We've decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce was finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know how I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm wondering if maybe the other woman ended it so now he was back to what he was comfortable with, his wife. He went and had his fun and when that died out, he was not left with a wife waiting for him at home. OP, he and his coworker were only sleeping together for maybe a month. She fulfilled his kinks that I never liked indulging in. That's why he was with most of his partners, because I wasn't interested in his kinks. Comment 2, he stepped out of this marriage first and tried to have his cake and eat it too. The thing with open marriages is that you can never count on how emotions will change. Sex is a very intimate action and many people will develop emotional connections. Those connections come at a price. He placed a bet and he lost. At least he's man enough to acknowledge it and own up to it. There is no easy answer. OP, I wish you healing OP. Thank you. Leo just thought the open marriage would be a way for him to get all of his kinks he couldn't do with me, because I wasn't into it. He knew how unconfident I was, which wasn't because of him. A lot of people seem to think that he eroded my self-esteem, but he didn't. We can thank my mother for that, but that's a whole other can of worms. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. Comment 3. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. So basically, while he asked for a mutually open marriage, he expected it to be only his side open, and then got hurt that reality didn't meet his expectations. OP. Leo admitted that he did only expect his side to be open. He was never going to stop me from opening my side, but like I said, he didn't think I would. TBH, I don't think I would have either if it wasn't for Jesse and Katie pushing me and making profiles for me.
Am I stupid for wanting to forgive and move on with our lives after my wife announced at her sister's wedding that she slept with the best man? My wife informed me at her sister's wedding that she had slept with the best man. The timing is crucial here. We have been married for 3 years and were together as a couple for 2 years before that, making it a total of about 5 years. 2 weekends ago, her sister got married, and naturally, my wife was part of the wedding party. As expected, she spent the 2 weeks before the wedding helping her sister with all the preparations. It was no big deal. She kept me updated, and I knew this was going to happen. She took that Wednesday to Friday off work to assist her sister and stayed with her for 3 days. I certainly know her sister, but I barely know the guy who is now my brother-in-law. In fact, I have only met him a few times, but he seems nice enough. I showed up Saturday morning a few hours before the ceremony, hoping to steal a few minutes to see her. Not wanting to intrude on the day since I knew she was busy, but I hadn't seen her since Tuesday. She saw me outside her parents' house and sent her brother out to tell me that she would come out and see me in the car, which I thought was odd, but whatever. She finally came out, sat in the seat next to me and gave me a kiss. Instead of acting happy to see me, she told me that she had to talk to me and didn't want to ruin her sister's day. She informed me that at the reception, if I still wanted to go, I might hear some things about her and the best man, and she didn't want it to be awkward or weird. I just kind of sat there stunned. She explained that about 4 years ago she had a fling with him, and while it didn't mean anything, she knew that I'm somewhat jealous by nature and wanted me to know in advance so that if I heard something, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I just kind of sat there. This was not how I thought my morning would go, but I told her I appreciated knowing it and that it certainly wasn't a big deal now. She went back into the house, and I went to eat lunch and decided to meet her at the church. As I was eating and checking my phone, a realization hit me. She mentioned having a fling with him 4 years ago, yet we have been together for 5 years. Initially, I wanted to dismiss it, thinking she might have just made a mistake with the timeline, but the more I thought about it, the more memories started coming back to me. About 1.5 years into our relationship, she went through a phase where her behavior was quite suspicious. She wasn't available when she usually would be and went on 2 weekend camping trips with friends from work. Naturally, this made me feel uneasy, but I knew I had a long day ahead and tried to push those thoughts aside. I arrived at the wedding and watched everything unfold. After the ceremony, there was a line where guests walked by to congratulate the bride and groom, with the wedding party standing in line as well. My wife was standing next to a guy I didn't know, but the best man was also there. I walked down the line, acting like everything was fine. At the reception, it took a long time for the wedding party to arrive due to the photo session. When my wife finally got there and sat with me, I chose not to mention anything, not wanting to create a distraction on such an important day. However, instead of leaving it be, she informed me that each groomsman and bridesmaid would be dancing together, and she would be dancing with the best man. I asked why, given that she wasn't paired with him in the wedding party. She explained that the maid of honor and her partner were married and wanted to dance together. At this point, I was more than just a little irritated, but I tried to keep my feelings in check. I knew better than to drink, as I tend to get angry when intoxicated. She chatted with everyone around her, and then the time for the dance arrived. The best man came over, extended his arm, and she got up to dance with him. I made a conscious effort not to watch them and focused on other things instead. When she returned with him, they were laughing and joking like the best of friends. She decided to introduce us, and while I didn't tell him to get lost as I felt like doing, my greeting was probably less than friendly. However, this did not stop him from sitting down and talking with her for a few minutes. The more they chatted and reminisced about the past, the angrier I became. Eventually, I got up and went to the bathroom, and when I came back, he was gone. She chose that moment to tell me that she thought I was being rude, which was the last thing I wanted to hear. I told her that this wasn't the appropriate time or place for this discussion, but we would definitely talk later. She then said she was going to change clothes, and as soon as she returned, she was planning to tell her sister that we were leaving because I had ruined her day. However, she didn't want me to ruin her sister's day as well. I assured her that I was perfectly capable of not causing any trouble for her or her sister for the rest of the day and that I did not want to create any drama, so I preferred to stay. She went to change clothes and came back looking annoyed. Understand? I had not said a word to her, and I even shook the other guy's hand. I guess I just looked miserable, which is what she based her reaction on. She was adamant about not staying, so I said that if she really wanted to leave, we could go. But if she preferred to stay, I would be happy to stay too, or if she liked, I could leave since I had my own car. Initially, she said we should stay, but then she changed her mind and said if I couldn't behave better, I should leave. I asked how I was acting, and she said it was clear I was trying to act like a silverback gorilla ready for a fight. I didn't know whether to laugh at her or be offended. I went back inside and sat down while she mingled with the other guests. I talked with her brother for a while, but eventually ended up back at our table talking with her grandma. We left at the same time, and I arrived home just before she did. I was sitting in the living room waiting for her when she came in, and she did not beat around the bush. I simply asked her to retell me the story about this other guy, and she repeated it word for word as before. After sitting and looking at her for a while, I asked if she was sure about the time frame, and she confirmed she was. I then reminded her that we had been together for 5 years, so this fling was well over a year into our relationship. What happened next is hard to describe. Instead of being flustered or denying it, she simply said she knew. So I asked her to explain, and she told me that they worked together and it was just a physical thing. She felt that we weren't in a great place at the time, and she never had any feelings for him or any real intention of leaving me. She was just having some fun for a few weekends. She admitted that it was probably a mistake on her part to tell me now, but she didn't want me to be blindsided. I did not react the way she anticipated. We had a huge argument, which ended when she accused me of being childish about the whole situation. She insisted that because we are now married, what happened before our marriage shouldn't affect our current life together. I vehemently disagree. First, her infidelity affects us profoundly, and she doesn't even show any remorse. Second, I despise being called childish when I get upset. It feels like she's trying to assert superiority over me. I told her I needed time to process everything, but she dismissed it, claiming there was nothing to think about since we love each other and this doesn't change anything. That conversation happened 2 weeks ago and I'm still not over it. She has been trying to talk to me over the past few days, but I find myself unable to see her the same way. Part of me thinks it's irrational to be this upset over something that happened years ago, but another part of me is deeply hurt by the revelation of her infidelity. Update. At her sister's wedding, my wife told me she had slept with the best man. The maid of honor, not my wife, was married to the groomsman who walked my wife down the aisle. Some people speculated that my wife was trying to arrange the dance, but I know for certain that part was genuine. However, this doesn't mean she didn't offer to let them dance or engage in other manipulative behavior. I wanted to clarify that part. Recent developments have only made my decision-making process more difficult. Last week, I felt mostly angry, but as the weekend went on, I became more sad. I want to hate her and flip the switch that tells me I'm being taken advantage of, but it's tough because I still love her, and this situation is tearing me apart. Here's what happened next. She eventually realized that I wasn't going to simply get over this, which made her understand that I might want to leave the marriage. This realization almost caused her to have a nervous breakdown. Someone from my first post suggested she might try to manipulate me, and I took that warning to heart. Initially, I thought she was shedding crocodile tears, but it soon became clear that she wasn't faking. She was having a real panic attack. This led to an emergency room visit, an overnight hospital stay, new medications, and a follow-up appointment with her doctor next week. Her family got involved, leading to lengthy discussions all around. When we got home with her family, I asked what she wanted to do, given the full house. She said she wanted to be with her mom for a while, which was fine with me as I had no desire to spend the day with her dad or sister. so I decided to finish up some work and return home later. 2 hours after I arrived, I got a text from her, pleading for me to come home and saying she desperately needed to talk. So I wrapped up what I was doing and headed back. When I got to my front porch, her dad was there, asking if he could have a word with me. Already feeling quite angry, I was prepared to confront him if she had filled him with lies. While we weren't best friends, I had never had any issues with him, so I wasn't keen on being the one who broke his daughter's heart. We sat down on the deck chairs, and his opening statement completely caught me off guard. I expected anything but what he said next. He revealed that she had told them what had happened and he wanted to apologize to me because he felt like he had failed as a parent. He believed that her mindset was largely influenced by her mother. Although he loved both of them, he admitted they were wrong. He had warned his wife years ago that teaching their daughters that anything before marriage didn't count was a terrible idea and a flawed value system. He clarified that he wasn't defending his daughter's actions but wanted me to understand that she genuinely believed marriage was an entirely separate chapter of life. He said her mom and dad had romanticized marriage so much that she struggled to grasp the realities of life. Essentially, he was placing some blame on his wife, but this was far from what I anticipated. We shook hands, and he told me that no matter what I decided, he still held me in high regard, which genuinely made me feel better for the moment. I then went inside, and my wife was curled up in a ball on her mom's lap, and you could tell she had been crying the entire time I had been gone. Her mom got up, came, hugged me, and told me she was sorry and that she loved me and was praying that we could work this out. My wife was laid out on the couch at this point. Her mom and dad left, and she sat there looking at me and crying. Okay, this is where I'm going to piss off everybody and just tell you that I couldn't take it. I went to her, and we hugged for a long time with her telling me over and over how sorry she was. Hey, I know it was the weak thing to do, but again, I have to say in my defense that just before this incident occurred, I loved her with all of my heart and would have done anything to not see her in pain. Whatever she had done, I still didn't want to see her like that. Look, it's very possible that she was putting on an Oscar-worthy acting job, but I don't honestly think so. She really seemed broken at that point in time. After a while, when she calmed down, I asked her what she wanted me to come home and talk about, and she said she wanted to get everything out in the open so I didn't feel like I was being lied to or manipulated. She wanted me to ask her questions, and I wish I had written down a list, but I came up with a few off the top of my head. She was brutally honest with me, and some of the questions I asked I probably shouldn't have because now the mental image is stuck in there, but honestly, it was there anyway. I just now have confirmation. First, I asked for dates or at the very least approximate dates. I didn't tell her about the engagement concern I had because I didn't want her to change stories, and she remembered exactly when they occurred. Fortunately, this happened a little earlier in our relationship than she told me initially, so we were not engaged when this happened. I can't tell you what a relief that was because I became physically ill when I thought about that when someone said it in my last post. Second, I asked how many times she went overboard with this because instead of just telling me how many different dates, she decided to tell me how many times there was intimacy. She wasn't doing it to be mean. She honestly thought that is what I wanted to know. This part of the conversation did not help me at all and, in fact, almost broke me down. In truth, it wasn't that often, and in fact, there were really only 3 different days that it happened on, but there were several times during those 3 days. Then came the difficult part that was understanding why she did it. Admittedly, I'm not the most masculine man, and it pains me to say this, but I couldn't ask without breaking down into tears. I questioned why I wasn't enough, why she chose him, and why she didn't just leave me. At that moment, it was her turn to comfort me because everything hit me all at once. Her confession, witnessing their interactions, and now learning the details of their affair. She spoke during this, but I couldn't process her words. I was too upset, and honestly, nothing she could say would make a difference. After regaining my composure, I told her that the betrayal was terrible, but her reaction when I found out was just as bad, if not worse. She agreed and apologized for calling me immature. She genuinely believed that it wouldn't matter to me now because we were married. Hearing this made my blood boil again. I was about to respond, but she interrupted, saying that after discussing with her parents, she realized how wrong she was and acknowledged that cheating is cheating. However, she still felt that the happiness we shared since getting married should mean something. I responded that I felt like that happiness was built on a lie. This led to another breakdown for her, nearly resulting in another ER visit, but between Ativan and breathing into a paper bag, we managed to calm her down. I let her sleep the rest of the night, feeling emotionally exhausted myself. However, by Sunday, we were talking again. By this point, I wasn't as understanding as I had been when we returned from the ER. I told her that introducing him to me was terrible. Having to watch her dance with him was even worse, and the fact that she only confessed because she was about to get caught was the worst of all. I then asked why she thought I would find out and how many people at the wedding knew besides me. Clearly, the guy knew, but his best friend, who is now my brother-in-law, also knew. This led to her sister finding out, and she feared her sister would be the one to tell me. I asked how often she saw this guy, and she said the wedding was the first time she had seen him in 3 years. I lost my temper and asked if she met him at any point leading up to the wedding. She got defensive, acting as though she wouldn't have slept with anyone because she was married. I was so frustrated that I had to leave for a while, feeling like she was living in a completely different reality. After cooling off enough to return home and attempt to be civil, she asked what she could do to help me get past this. Although it may not sound like much, it was the first time she genuinely offered to help, so it was a nice gesture. I told her I wasn't sure what she could do or if there was anything either of us could do to fix this, and that I might never get over it. She said she wanted to help because she didn't want to see me in pain and hoped that over time, I would judge her based on who she is now. She promised to do anything I needed to work this out. She also wanted to assure me that she had been entirely faithful since we got married and would never cheat on her vows. I sarcastically thanked her, which I admit wasn't the most mature reaction. I then asked for a break from further discussions until at least Wednesday. I have 2 projects I need to complete, and honestly, I'm exhausted and unsure of what to do. I fluctuate between intense anger, where I want to kick her out, and deep emotional pain where I want to forget everything and move forward with her. Yes, I know this is not what anyone wanted to hear, and no, I'm not proud to type it, but it is what it is at the moment.
Mega dad and daughter, a relationship broken by political differences. Am I the asshole for not forgiving my dad after the birthday argument? Original, Dad's POV, May 10, 2023. Am I the asshole? My daughter doesn't want me in her life because of our differences in political opinions. I, 65, have 2 daughters, Alicia, 35, and Mary, 32. I have been divorced from their mother since the girls were in middle school and have been with my current partner Janice for 15 years, but we are not married. My girls were living with me full-time since they were in high school until they each moved out. I'll get right to it. My girls have opposing political views from Janice and I. This came to a head several years ago. Things had been strained for a while and finally blew up. The girls were over for Christmas and Mary said some things that upset Janice and Mary walked out. Alicia stayed, but it was awkward the rest of the day. Janice and I decided not to let Mary visit anymore, but I still saw her regularly on my own or with Alicia. A year or so after that, I took Alicia out for breakfast on her birthday. We had decided not to talk about politics anymore because we don't get along. Well, there was something upsetting on the TV and the restaurant was empty except for us and another couple, and I made a comment about it and Alicia just started ranting. She wouldn't stop even when I told her to because she said I was the one who brought it up. The man at the other table agreed with me and started getting upset, saying what Alicia was saying was stupid and that she should shut up. I agreed with him. Yet another day ruined, I guess, so I just walked out. I told her happy birthday before I left. She was very upset that I abandoned her with a stranger that was upset with her, but all she had to do was stop talking and that never would have happened. She said she felt unsafe and that I shouldn't have just left her there. And maybe I shouldn't have, but she also needs to take responsibility for her part in this. Now she barely speaks to me and I only see her on special occasions like birthdays or Father's Day. And never at either of our houses. She moved and hasn't told me where. It is somewhere local though. I see Mary more often, but she doesn't want to get involved with me and Alicia's issues. Ida for not taking total responsibility for what happened. Relevant comment. We could share the same political beliefs and I would agree with your daughter. You broke the agreement and made a comment you knew she wouldn't agree with. Then you got mad when she responded to the comment, then you agreed with a stranger and escalated the issue. He told her to shut up and she was talking stupid. No one says that in a calm manner. That is scary for a woman to be addressed like that by a man. After all of that, you left her, straight up left her with some stranger who was making comments about her. No wonder she felt unsafe. Her safety is more important than a disagreement. Bonus comment from the poster, I think it gives a better sense of his beliefs. I'm not racist and I think people should have bodily autonomy. For instance, no one should be forced to get any vaccine they don't want to. Original, daughter's POV, now deleted but preserved in a comment. May 12, 2023. I'm the daughter of a political dad. I have receipts, I'm Alicia. Those aren't our real names, thankfully. There are screenshots of 2 conversations with him in my profile. One from the day of this incident in 2018, and one Facebook Messenger conversation from 2020. I have more and may post them, but for now that should be enough. Yes, I made a throwaway for this, I don't want it attached to my main. My friend actually saw the post first and told me about it, and I considered for a while whether or not I should respond. It also took me a minute to find the conversations. I did want to address some things because even though the post was lacking details, most of the comments I was able to read were spot on, and this was very validating for me. As most of you guessed, yes, he is a Republican Trump supporter and I'm progressive. And yes, we are in the US. This was pre-COVID, he came out as an anti-vaxxer during the pandemic. Janice is horrible, lol. On the outside she seems sorta okay, but she's all about manipulation and control. If you aren't wholly grateful for every little thing she does, she employs guilt trips. She's definitely the respect your elders type. There's more to the story there, but I'm not going into it. We used to all have family dinners at their house once or twice a month. The atmosphere had been strained for a while because Dad and Janice didn't want Mary and I to comment about politics. They were allowed to say anything they wanted, but we weren't allowed to respond. We were told it was disrespectful to disagree with them in their own home. I thought it was very hypocritical and it pissed me off. When I lived with them, I never really started my opinions much out loud because I wanted to keep the peace. Because I had to live there. As I got older and moved out, I stopped being quiet about it, and I think it shocked them. I was tired of listening to racist, misogynistic nonsense and not saying anything about it. I was civil about it, I didn't name call or make it personal. Them on the other hand is a different story. Apparently I'm a liberal extremist, according to my dad, who said that to my face. Because I believe in civil rights and equal rights for everyone. Okay, that day at Christmas my sister and I were talking about climate change amongst ourselves, and they butted into the conversation and it exploded from there. We weren't talking to them at all, and they started being passive-aggressive and accusing us of thinking they were stupid, which neither of us said. My sister had apparently had enough of it all and walked out. She was never invited over again. I continued to visit, but I too was eventually told I wasn't going to be invited again. The topic on TV in the cafe was about whichever mass shooting or police shooting had just unfolded at the time. I don't remember specifically. I also don't remember the exact wording of my dad's comment, but it was something about guns and/or minorities. My comments in response were about gun control and statistically the demographic of most mass shooters. White men, sorry not sorry. And he as a white man took offense to that. So did the other boomer white man at the table next to us. I didn't care, I wouldn't have started it, but I was sick of him getting in his little comments and thinking I wouldn't say anything back because we agreed not to talk about things like that. After my dad's initial snide comment and I started listing statistics, my dad told me to stop talking. I said, why? I'm not ashamed of anything I'm saying. Neither of us were being loud, by the way, it was a private conversation at a normal speaking volume. At that point the other man sitting with his wife said loudly, well, I'd like her to shut up, and started saying things about how what I was saying was stupid. I sat there in shock, and just as I was about to collect myself and tell him to fuck off, my dad turned around to him and said, you know what, sir, I agree with you, which put me into shock again. I literally could not believe that just happened. My dad then stood up, muttered happy birthday at me, and walked out. The man continued to spout angry nonsense in my direction while his wife tried to calm him down, and I tried to think about how fast I could get to the police station next door if he tried something. I sat there for a few minutes in shock, and his wife came over to me and started apologizing profusely. I eventually left too and tried not to cry on my way home. Not that it matters a whole bunch, but we drove there separately and had paid for our food already. So he didn't leave me without a way home and didn't stick me with the bill. Ever since I started speaking up about my opinions, my dad has been very patronizing and condescending. It's funny though, because even then at first when we'd debate something we would be civil and I could get him to listen to me. I even got him to indirectly admit that he's pro-choice once during a conversation. He doesn't identify as that, but when we spoke logically and reasonably about it, he admitted that at least in some situations abortion should be allowed. I said, congratulations, that makes you pro-choice. And he didn't have anything to say to that, lol. I think it's the buzzwords and the faux news that's really tripped him up, and it's unfortunate. He and Janice live very much in their own little fantasy land and don't like being reminded that it isn't real. They've stopped going to family events partly because of this and partly because of Janice's medical condition. And I think partly because no one likes her. I already turned off messages and I don't really want to be responding to a bunch of comments. I might turn them off altogether at some point if that's an option, but we'll see how this goes. This has already gotten way more attention than I'm comfy with, but I didn't want to leave everyone hanging. There were some really insightful comments that gleaned a lot of truth without knowing the full situation, so I wanted to give some closure. And also to say thanks, this has helped me a lot. As for what I'm going to do about it in real life, probably nothing, because I'm pretty much done trying to do anything but keep up a surface level relationship. Once in a while he tells my sister he misses me, as if he doesn't understand what happened. We've had so many conversations about this that if he doesn't get it by now he never will, and I'm done trying. If you're wondering why I don't just cut him out completely, I'm not really sure myself. I guess I just don't have it in me right now. OP's receipts. Transcript, dated November 3, 2018. OP, thanks for leaving me there alone with that potentially violent guy. OP, I was just scared, and you just left. OP, make no mistake though, I will not be silent, I will be scared and loud. OP, remember how mom used to send us to school in tears? That's how I feel now. OP, you've become really good at breaking my heart. OP, I told you I'd been censored, harassed and censored in the past and you didn't say anything close to I'm sorry that happened to you. OP, I guess you don't care. I'm sorry you don't want to have a relationship with me because we don't agree on things. Dad, if you still want to talk, it will be in person and in private. OP. G, censored name. I'm sorry you feel like that. I didn't mean to make you feel sad or abandoned. Is that what you meant? OP. Right, well I get that you're at work and this isn't the best time. So you just let me know when you're ready to treat me like a human. 6:38 p.m. Dad, do you want to talk? OP, not tonight. Transcript, dated October 28, 2020. Dad, you can reach out too. I haven't heard from you, so I figured you wanted space for whatever reason. OP, I want space. What's there even to say? I'm not allowed at your house, you don't want to come to mine. You actively avoid family gatherings. You abandoned me on my birthday in a public place with a strange man who was yelling at me after you took his side a few years ago. That was what made me start seeing a therapist. BTW. You bring up hypothetical situations where we'd be on the opposite sides of a hypothetical civil war for no other reason than to divide us, I guess. You've made it very clear that your politics are more important to you than I am. I get the very clear impression that you don't want me in your life, so I'm not trying to be anymore. Dad. So you're good as is? OP, if that's going to be your response to all of that, yeah. Dad, okay. OP, guess that means you're good with it too. Dad, I'm not going to push you into anything you're not good with. OP, right, that fact that this was your only response to everything I just said means it's all true, and why would I want to pursue anything with someone who thinks politics are more important than their own daughter? Someone who betrays her and then abandons her in a scary situation. Dad. Sad it's come to this. You want to talk, you can call. It's up to you. OP. Sad indeed. I bought a house. BTW, and I'm moving on. Censored. Not that I think you'd ever try to visit me, but just in case I won't live there anymore. Dad, so do you want to talk or not? OP. Do you? Dad, I'm always open to conversation. OP. Tell me now if you stand by anything you've said or done, cause if so I don't see the point in talking about it. Dad. So you don't take responsibility for anything? OP. Ha ha ha, do I take responsibility for you abandoning me? No. For not being allowed at your house? The reason being because you and Redacted wanted to talk about politics but wanted to prevent me from saying anything. No. For you not wanting to come to my house? No. For you avoiding family gatherings in general? No. For you loving your politics more than me? No. Do I take responsibility for having my own opinions and deciding that I won't stay silent anymore? Sure. But you didn't like that. You liked it better when I just shut up and you could say whatever you wanted. It's never going back to that. If you do or say something shitty, I'm going to call you out on it and hold you accountable. Those were some really shitty things you did to me, and no matter what you think I did to deserve it, I absolutely did not deserve it, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. Dad. Wow. Dad. Well, congratulations on your house, and I really do hope things go your way. I hope you continue to be well. OP. Same to you. New update. Daughter still. Jules. 20, 20, 23. Check my profile for the history, but basically I found a post from my dad complaining that I barely talked to him and posted here to give the missing reasons. I'm deciding to go no contact with him because of texts he sent me this morning. Screenshots in my profile. It speaks for itself, but the summary is he sent me a photo of him and Janice meeting Mike Pence. Which, like, that's fine by itself, I don't care, but he's decided to rub it in my face knowing I don't want to hear about it. Then he tried to gaslight me by saying he sent it to honor Mike Pence's wishes, and that it's a positive message. I told him not to contact me anymore. I don't need this nonsense in my life. Honestly, it's thanks to these posts and Reddit that the decision to cut contact was so clear to me. But I have to admit I'm shaking as I write this. It's obviously not the outcome that anyone wanted. OP's Receipts. Part 2. Transcript. Dated July 20th, 2023. Dad. Image of 3 adults posing for a picture. Former Vice President of the United States. Mike Pence is in the middle. The 2 adults on either side of him have their faces censored and are labeled as Dad and Janice. Dad. Mike said to say hello and best wishes to my children. OP, I need you to tell me why you sent me that. Dad. Honoring the man's wishes. OP, did you think at all about how I would react to it? Dad. To a positive message. Dad. I guess that won't happen again. OP, it won't, but not for the reason you think. You know we don't agree on politics. That's what sparked the incident that led me to go low contact with you. I've told you how that day made me feel, but you never understood. This proves that at the very least you still don't understand. It's childish. I was willing to keep up some sort of relationship with you as long as you didn't do anything malicious, but you just can't help yourself. You sent this knowing full well that I would not like it. Then you tried gaslighting me about it being for his wishes or that it's a positive message. I can't do this anymore. I don't need someone in my life just trying to get a rise out of me, especially my own family. Do not contact me anymore. I'm done. My wife and I want to adopt our foster daughter, but my father-in-law is furious. How can we protect her while dealing with his cruelty? My wife and I have 2 biological teenage sons, one older and one younger than our foster daughter. We have been fostering kids for many years, but the goal has always been to reunify the kids with their parents, which has happened successfully each time until now. 2 years ago we took in our foster daughter, now mid-teens. She had been through a lot and was labeled as a troubled kid and not adoptable. I won't go into details, but the issue in this matter is that there are images of her going around amongst a certain community from before we took her in. We were informed by authorities about all of this before, so it's not like this came as a surprise after we got to know her. I'm not going to lie, it has not been easy. Our families have seen us struggle, but almost everyone has been super supportive. The first 5 and 6 months were the hardest. She didn't trust us, and she was angry at the world, rightfully so. Then one random night I got up in the middle of the night and unintentionally ended up scaring her shitless, and she had a full-blown panic attack. She was okay after a little while, but it was like something clicked for her that night. It was like she realized that we were on her side, and we watched her change from this angry and sad little girl to the ambitious young teenager we know today. It started with her telling us thank you for everything we did, small things like driving her to practice. And she said it with a smile on her face. It was so amazing to see her feeling better and not so lonely anymore. From there everything changed. She made new friends and got a lot closer to my sons, especially the older one. Her grades went from failing multiple classes to getting straight A's. Not because we were nagging her, but because she wanted to. Each member of our household has developed a good and strong relationship with her, and the love we have for this girl cannot be put into words. We've reached that cosmic connection. She still struggles with a few things, which is totally fair after all she's been through, but she is working on it, and we are supporting her in every way we can. Overall, she's doing amazing. She's so strong, and I'm very proud of her. We made the decision to fight the system to change their verdict from not adoptable to available for conditional adoption, because we want to commit to her for life. We want to adopt her. Last month we got the call that they changed their verdict, and we sent in our papers that were already ready, and things are looking very promising. The thing is, we haven't told her yet. She knows that she is now adoptable, but we haven't asked her if she wants us to officially adopt her yet. My wife and I have talked to our sons about it, and they are fully on board. We talked to my parents, our brothers and sisters, and their spouses. All of them have a good relationship with our daughter, and every single one of them is so supportive of our decision and willing to fully welcome our daughter into our family. Then there are the wife's parents. Mother-in-law hasn't been awful, I guess, but maybe it's because I'm comparing what she said to what father-in-law said. We told them about our plan and asked them about their opinion. Mother-in-law asked if we were sure, as our daughter doesn't quite fit in. My wife and I didn't understand at all, since our daughter has a very similar mother-in-law personality as we and our sons do. but it turns out she's concerned about the visual side of it, as she's clearly not our biological child and people will start asking questions. The thing is, my wife, myself and our sons are very tall. Our daughter is not. She is tiny compared to us and has a similar eye color but not the exact same. All 5 of us have the same skin tone and colored and textured hair. Not that I think this matters at all, but the stupidity of it is unreal. Apart from height, she could pass as our biological daughter, so I'm starting to think this is a lame excuse for something else. I told her that people would ask questions no matter what, because even if our daughter was the spitting image of my wife, it's not like she suddenly gave birth to a teenager 2 years ago. And the answer to any question is very simple. She's adopted. Ta-da! It's not like it could ever become a secret now, so I don't get it. Mother-in-law didn't say much after that, but it was very clear she was not on board. Father-in-law hadn't said anything, but he didn't seem excited at all. I asked for his opinion, and he just stared at us for a minute, and then he said, "Don't do this to yourself and our family." It's safe to say I was confused, but I had no idea what to say. After a few more seconds he went off. He started talking about their family name, and he didn't want that ruined by a little horror, and what would people think if they saw these images floating around on the internet. I was stunned. My wife couldn't find any words either and started crying before she just left. I didn't say a word while my father-in-law finished ranting, but 1,000 thoughts went through my head. Eventually he stopped talking and I still had trouble finding any words to say. I just told him, "You are sick." And I left too. My wife is destroyed after hearing what her father thinks about our daughter. We have no idea how they know about these images, as we haven't told anyone about it. I'm 100% certain my wife didn't tell them, as their relationship is not that great. My wife is closer to my mother than her own, so that wouldn't make sense. We have tried to hide this from the kids since this happened, but my older son sensed something was very wrong and asked about it. I told him our conversation with ILSS about adopting our daughter didn't go very well, and they weren't supportive. He wanted to know why. I told him I couldn't tell him, but that it was serious and promised to talk to him about it in a few years when he's an adult. And I assured him that our daughter didn't do anything wrong, our plans haven't changed, and that it's the father-in-law who is being unreasonable. My son told me that our daughter told him a few months ago that she didn't think ILs liked her very much, especially father-in-law. This happened 2 days ago, and we haven't spoken to them since. I'm not sure I even want to try TBH. For me, this is going no contact worthy. I want nothing to do with them. My wife is in pieces and has mentioned that she doesn't want them in her life after this. This has tainted our adoption experience for sure. I'm afraid though that if we piss father-in-law off even more, that he will start talking to our father-in-law about these images. I do realize that he will look like a pig in everyone's eyes, but I would like to spare our daughter from everyone knowing about what's out there. I usually talk to my mother about heavy stuff in life, but I cannot talk to her about this without feeling like I'm exposing my daughter by telling my mother more than I want to for my daughter's sake. Internet strangers. I have no idea what to do from here. How do I go about the situation with my father-in-law without creating more mess than absolutely necessary for my daughter? Edit to add, just to be very clear. There's no doubt in our minds that we still want to ask for our daughter's permission to adopt her. Our relationship with our daughter will not change no matter what the father-in-law does or does not do. I realized from the first couple of comments that it became unclear after the father-in-law incident. Sorry about that. Edit to add 4 hours later. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one hopefully reading too much into this. I think you have verified I'm not crazy. Wife and I had a brief talk after I posted and have decided to talk to her brothers and sister first about my father-in-law's comments. It will be a hard conversation, but it needs to happen. Before I could get to it, my wife told me she wanted to report the situation with her father knowing about the images of our daughter. Right now we don't know what that looks like, but it has simply not been possible for him to gain this knowledge legally. There is a culprit for sure, but we will leave that to the authorities for now. Thank you for giving me a reality check. And thank you for your encouragement, we need it right now. I punched an autistic kid after he groped me and now everyone hates me. Am I the jerk? That grope was the last straw. I have known Troy since nursery, kindergarten for Americans, or just anyone, and he has always been a baby. It was always his autism that made him who he was. I don't know why, but he always had a crush on me. I rejected him gently multiple times, but he never took no for an answer. As we grew older, he got worse. He started commenting on my chest. Asking to touch them. Asking to see them. His friends kept trying to convince me to show him because nobody would be nice enough to give him a chance. And in year 7, 6th grade, he started groping me. I told teachers, but they kept saying that his autism doesn't make him know any better. It was only me. He got jealous when I was in the presence of another guy. He would have meltdowns and I got into trouble because I knew how upset he would get. No, I didn't. It was like my only purpose was to be his. I wasn't allowed to be my own person. The groping continued. I kept telling him to stop. He didn't listen. I remember crying on the floor and teachers just kept saying that his autism makes him like this and that I'm being a good person by taking care of him. His groping hurt. I don't know how to explain it. He just grabbed my chest and butt hard. And it hurts. The groping continued for 4 years. I was always his caretaker, his girlfriend, his best friend, his. I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. It was hot and I wore a skirt and he proceeded to put his hands up my skirt and groped my butt. I lost it and punched him around the nose. His nose got broken and unfortunately now I am getting put into isolation for 2 months for bullying an autistic kid. He's not a kid though. He's 16 years old. He acts normal around his friends. He treats everyone else with respect. He's not a kid. Now everyone hates me. I have been receiving death threats and people have been saying he should have done worse. Now all I want to do is curl up and die. Maybe I should have been nicer. Maybe I should have been more sympathetic. Maybe I should have just accepted it. I could have been his only chance. For the record, I don't despise autistic people. He is not a representative of them. He is just an awful person. Troy is just a horrible person. Thank you for letting me vent. Edit. Hi all. I didn't expect so much attention, so thank you for the validation. Giving my context. His parents are prominent people in our community. His dad is a third-generation Army something, IDK, and his mom is known for always holding all of the stuff for kids. Like the summer fairs, etc. She is also part of the school board and friends with the higher-ups if you will, which is why this happened at all. I wasn't technically his caretaker because I didn't have to feed him, clothe him, etc. I just had to be his friend. His dad is also friends with the police station. They go way back, so that's another reason why they didn't do much. Or just took a statement then wrote him off as mentally disabled. And the police here just suck ass here. Police officers have SA'd many women before here. They just get let off unfortunately. Onto a semi-update. Firstly, my parents will look into lawyers. We just couldn't afford one. And I was always too scared to get one. I guess it was because I have been so neglected, that I just thought nobody would believe me. However, my other relatives said that they would chip in and pay for a good lawyer. Meanwhile, my parents took me out of the school and I will stay at my grandma's for a while to recover. My auntie is also going to pay for my therapy. So I will enjoy that much needed therapy. Thank you so much for the kind words. I hope you all miraculously wake up with more money in your bank's accounts than you expected. Edit 2. Hi all, I didn't expect this story to end up on TikTok so quickly. I would like to thank you all again for your words and thank you so much to those who have been reaching out to me. It means a lot. I would also like to point out that this is a throwaway account, and I want to stay anonymous. But thank you all so much again for the kind words and comments. I realize that I was never in the wrong. That I am a person. Thank you. I truly hope you all have the best days ever. You all are amazing. Relevant comments from OOP. Comment 1. Is the kid cognitively challenged? OP, nope. He has mild autism if that makes sense. He's actually quite good around people. Just not me. IG. Comment 2. I would get law enforcement involved. OP, we tried to. They just didn't care because he is mentally challenged. My parents genuinely tried to do something, but when everyone defends him, they believe the majority. I mean, when I usually say this story, people automatically think I hate autistic people. I don't. Because autistic people don't do this. Horrible people do. Autism isn't the label for assault, the label is sexual assaulter. Update. Firstly, I would like to thank you all so much for your kind words and messages. Thank you for your support and validation, your words meant so much to me. Also, I thought I would explain the whole I hope you all miraculously wake up with more money in your bank account. Comment. I heard someone in TikTok say this and thought it would be a nice thing to say, as some people did question it in my messages. But yeah, thank you all again. Before this update starts, I would like to say that this all occurred like 2 weeks ago now. I just reached my breaking point and needed to vent. Hence why the update may be soon to some. This won't be the final update, but an update. I would also like to clear the air with my parents. Now unfortunately, my parents come from a country where this stuff is normal. Not only that, but I am partially to blame as I didn't say anything. Eventually I did tell them and they tried their best to help me. But they didn't know how. Though I do acknowledge their efforts, I am still going to be taking time to heal from them as well. My entire family also had a go at them and expressed their disappointment. The best thing for now is for me to spend some time apart from them. So to begin, I left the school. After my parents had heard that I got into trouble seriously because of Troy again, they basically thought it was time to pull me out. I am due to start my new school in 2 weeks. I have also been trying to settle at my grandma's house as I just needed a fresh start with fresh people. To be honest, I have never felt so free. I have had to deal with that torment for years and years. So now I can enjoy the pleasure of walking home and not seeing him or bumping into him. So I feel great. On to the serious stuff. As I had mentioned, my family basically decided to pay for a lawyer, and we are now hoping to have a lawsuit against basically everyone involved. My grandma also had to go to put nicely with the school's board for basically allowing nepotism to harass other girls. She called all of the teachers a disgrace for endangering not only me but other people and saying how none of the teachers who allowed this deserved to even step foot into a school. This experience has also not been all sunshines and daisies. After the suit was claimed or made, IDK, my parents got letters and messages basically asking for the case to be dropped. My parents obviously said no. But it still didn't stop the harassment. I eventually got harassed too. All of the people giving me death threats decided to go into graphic detail on what Troy wanted to do to me. Spoiler, it wasn't great. And Troy's parents showed up on my doorstep demanding to see me and talk to me and how Troy is ready to apologize. Thankfully by then my uncle and I had been on the way to my grandma's house. However, my parents obviously didn't let them in regardless and said that if they wanted to communicate it had to be through a lawyer. The harassment didn't stop. And eventually Troy sent me a message on a burner account detailing all of the things he was going to do if got the opportunity to, and that I should be grateful that I managed to walk away with just a groping. Troy also kept spewing on about how I'm nothing but a whore or slut, etc. And I should be grateful that someone so popular even looked my way. He kept saying how if I'd just let him fuck me, he wouldn't have groped me. However, I know if I did that I would no longer be myself. I would be his property forever. The thought of that makes me want to vomit. Also, his logic doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I just got receipts and blocked him. I also asked my parents to help me change my number. And I did. My grandma, being the person she is, decided that wasn't good enough and got me a whole new phone. She claims it's compensation for my trauma. Thanks, Grandma. I am starting therapy the day after tomorrow and I am hoping to start family therapy in August as, truthfully, I don't know if I'm mad at my parents or should be mad. Like, is it my fault for not saying anything? But that's all the update I can give you for now. The lawsuit will be a whole other process and hopefully if I remember I can update you all again. Thank you so much for your words. I truly appreciate all of you. I hope this update is clear enough for you and apologies if you made it this far.
Am I the A for defensively responding, I'm sorry I was born this way, when my natural afro was accused of cultural appropriation by friends? I am a 19-year-old female. I am also a Caucasian person, which I think is relevant. I have a natural afro, similar to a Jufro or something like that. I am not exaggerating when I refer to it as an afro. It is a big round puffball of curls from my head. I have a friend group, and almost all of us knew each other in high school. I am not sure exactly how relevant this detail is, but almost everyone in the group is a person of color. We get together every once in a while, and the last time we met up, the topic of cultural appropriation came up. Topics like this are not unusual for us, as we sometimes talk about political or societal issues. We all have the same left-wing beliefs, so it is easy for us to talk about these things. In the discussion about cultural appropriation, afros specifically came up. I did not think much of it for a while, as it makes sense to me that someone mimicking the hairstyle of people of color would be offensive. I did not really contribute to the conversation except for nodding along, as I agree with what they say but cannot really add to it since I am white. At some point in the conversation, I started to feel like people were looking at me. Not like conversational looks but more like looking me up and down before glancing away and repeating. I brushed this off, as I have had issues with social anxiety since I was little, so most of the time when I feel insecure, I figure it is just my anxiety bursting through my medication to bite me in the butt. However, after a few minutes of feeling this way, one friend commented on how weird it was that I have my hair in an afro despite being white. All of my friends are well aware that my hair is completely natural, and I do not do anything to get it this way, so I was taken aback. A few other people chimed in, saying things like I should straighten it, and that I was adding to racial tension and making people see me and think it is okay to appropriate afros. I snapped and said, I am sorry I was born this way. I was using a loud tone, which I am not proud of, as I am very averse to anything that resembles yelling. I would not say I yelled, but I was speaking noticeably louder than the volume we had maintained. Some of my friends looked disappointed, while others looked kind of disgusted, and they all just left after that. If anything, I think I am the asshole for how I responded, but I am also asking if I am the asshole for having my hair like this. I would talk to other friends or family about this, but I am worried about them being disappointed in me. Any advice is appreciated. Update. Kind of. Thank you to all of you who commented, which by now is a surprising amount. I appreciate all of the advice you gave. I am still trying to get through all the comments and have not even begun to try to respond to any of them. I am not entirely sure if this counts as an update. I have spent a while mulling over the advice. An overwhelming number of you suggested that I stop considering these people friends, along with a lot of people who suggested that they may have never been friends in the first place. Reading responses has given me a new perspective on this, as I came here expecting to be the asshole but wanting more of a view of why and to what extent. To get it straight off the bat, I do not want to stop being friends with these guys unless it really comes down to it. I do not think this stems from prejudice or malice as some people believed. I think it rather came from ignorance and misunderstanding. I am going to reach out to them in the coming days and try to explain my renewed view, and maybe even share some of the comments with them. These are people I have known for years. We have helped each other through dark times and celebrated good times. If they are completely unreceptive, then I do not think we will remain friends, but I do not want to lose these people over something that can be worked out. My hope is that we can work through this and be better for it. Thanks especially to people expressing concern for my well-being and their views on similar matters. Even bigger thanks to those who expressed concern for my hair's well-being and the idea to use hair products made for people of color. For some reason that I can only attribute to sheer lack of attention to my hair and its health, I had never really considered this. When I think about it, I am coming out of this with friendship tips, worldview tips, and hair tips. I suppose more than anything right now, I am just tired. I feel like I need to just curl up in my bed for 3 days, but this is a bump in the road that I wish to overcome. I highly doubt I will update this. I decided not to post this on my main account so it would not be associated with browsing on this site for obvious reasons. I will try to get back to at least some comments. I guess more than anything, this update is just to say thanks for caring enough to give me advice, whether it was a single word or 3 paragraphs. Some comments that were donated and had many votes. Firstly, one commenter shared their experience. I'm black and went to a majority white all-girls school in the US. There was a white girl who had extremely thick and tightly wound hair. She hated it because she didn't know what to do with it. On a good day she wore it in a ponytail, but it was never combed through, and no one in her family knew what to do with her hair. I didn't really know her, but could see how thick her hair was. Years later I ran into her getting her hair done at a black salon. She said she had been coming here since college. Only the ignorant will accuse you of trying to be someone you are not. But FYI, go to a black hair salon. They will hook you up. In response, another person shared their positive experience with black hairstylists. OMG this. 100 score for the second I started working with a black hairstylist, my hair game changed completely. I had the most uneven haircut in my entire life, and she was like, yeah, because they wet your hair completely, and then comb it straight, then cut it. Also she changed my hair routine, wash schedule, products used, and how to refresh it. I used to think I could only have nice hair on wash days. Now I have nice hair 75% of the time. Additionally, another commenter mentioned their surprise at learning about haircuts. Oh my god, you just blew my mind. I'm a white male but I wear my hair long and it's naturally very curly. Oh, I had been wondering why my haircuts always left me disappointed. I didn't even realize that the stylist wetting my hair before, combing it straight, and cutting it was adding to the problem. I've been avoiding getting haircuts for a while now because they always turn out like crap. I'm definitely going to see if I can find a black stylist in my area to do my next haircut. Moreover, someone else shared their experience with curly hair. Same. It is absolutely wild how many white people have absolutely no clue how to style curly hair. I say this as a white person with curly wavy hair. Afro type C curls are rare unless you're Jewish, but wavy curly hair in general is pretty common. Yet it's so insanely rare to meet anyone who knows curly hair. I used to think my hair was just always fluffy and bushy like Hermione, and I just had to straighten it. Nope. I just have wavy curly hair, and no one in my family had any clue how to teach me to style it properly, despite a quarter of them also having curly or wavy hair. Furthermore, another commenter offered practical advice. My friend and her guy came over to visit. He was growing his hair out. It was a frizzy mess. I said, I have an oil-free moisturizer that will make your hair look wet when it's dry. He looked at her for approval and she said, of course. I put it on his hair and told him to only wash it once a week. His hair looked spectacular with just a small amount. The product was Carefree Curl Gold. Must be put on dry hair for the best results. When I bought some at Sally's, the woman behind me checking out said that was the same product her hairstylist sold her for $20. It was $5. Anyone with thick curly hair needs to check out Ethnic Hair Care products. You will be pleasantly surprised. In addition, another commenter shared their concern about haircuts. This is actually so important because I need a haircut and I didn't know that they could potentially damage my newly grown curls. I got a buzz cut like 3 years ago to help with my trichotillomania, and it's since grown in with perfect curling iron type curls. It's actually kinda insane how my hair curls as if styled just by air drying after a shower. I think I'd be devastated if I went to get the back so trimmed, then left with half my curls literally done. I'd lose my mind. My hair is so important to me now. Next, someone firmly stated their opinion. Not the A. No one needs to change their natural self to please others. Another person found the situation bizarre. Yeah, this is bizarre. I can't imagine people genuinely telling someone that they need to straighten their hair to get rid of their natural hair texture to avoid cultural appropriation. It makes no sense and sounds like what people think liberals argue about, LMAO. Furthermore, another commenter explained, nah. I've known people like this. Some people are just dumb. It's an affectation of being of the age where you think you know everything because you haven't grown up enough to learn you don't know much, because the world is shades of gray. This isn't bashing any generation. It's a product of age and affects all generations. I roll my eyes at some of the things I adamantly crusaded about in my late teens and early 20s. In our first steps out alone in the world of new adulthood, we boil everything down to simple black and white to find our place in it. As we do, we start to see the layers and shades of gray. And believe me, when I was that age, nothing infuriated me more than someone older explaining this very thing. So I get that too. Someone else pointed out, having tightly coiled hair is not exclusive to black people. It's absolutely not cultural appropriation to wear your natural hair texture. Advocating that someone straightens their hair to reduce racial tension is exactly what the natural hair movement was advocating against. You are not the A. Another person found the friend's logic confusing, wondering how they were discussing how people should not do something to their hair to avoid cultural appropriation but wanted her to do something to her hair so it does not look natural. OP is not the A. But can someone please make her friend's opinions make sense to me and possibly them? Moreover, another commenter clarified, the correct definition of cultural appropriation is when someone pretends to have created something that was created by people of another culture. The way it is used by most people is as a cudgel to take things from people over the color of their skin. In other words, cultural appropriation is being misappropriated by racists. Additionally, someone shared a strong opinion on the issue. Honestly, this is one of a few things I have strong feelings about. I feel that if cultural appropriation is used in this gatekeeping cudgel method, it will create more divisiveness in the long term, with people just not knowing as much about cultures in general. Most people experience new cultures, usually through food or clothing in the beginning, and if people start getting hesitant or nervous to try these new things, because they'll be judged as culturally appropriating them, it could really limit the growth of what people experience. And then when they get older, they have no experience of all these other cultures, so they just won't understand them, and it could lead to conflict. If you limit people from experiencing and understanding new cultures, you will end up creating intolerant people as they get older. Then, another commenter shared their personal experience. Exactly this. I have tight curls that I like to keep short, resulting in my hair being an afro. African Americans often refer to this style as natural. Guess what? It's natural for me too because that's what my hair does naturally. I would say something along the lines of, so you're allowed to have your hair natural. But I'm not. They need to get over themselves. Not the A at all. Finally, one commenter posted that OP is not the A. No one needs to change their natural self to please others. Relevant comments to the story. Firstly, one commenter shared their experience with their father's appearance and heritage. My dad's parents were born in Croatia. My dad had very dark skin. He tanned so dark that when he came to see me at a cheerleading practice, he was also the police chief in a small city, so well known. One of the other squad members, and this was a high school that was about 40% black, said, "I didn't know that your daddy wasn't white." He also had black hair, a prominent scimitar-style nose and blue eyes. That combination is very Turkish, and that's what he was often mistaken for. And, as I said, Croatia, which once had a significant Ottoman Empire presence as well as the Roman Empire. Edit to add, he also had very high cheekbones. Additionally, another commenter related to the situation. Exactly this. I have tight curls that I like to keep short, resulting in my hair being a fro. African Americans often refer to this style as natural. Guess what? It's natural for me too, because that's what my hair does naturally. I would say something along the lines of, so you're allowed to have your hair natural. But I'm not? They need to get over themselves. Not the A at all. Moreover, someone else shared their experience with classmates. I went to school with people who had 4C hair, and they were white-skinned and freckled, and their hair was white. I felt sorry for the girl because she always used to hide her hair in a bun with tufts sticking out. She really had no idea how to care for her hair, and she really resented it. It was some genetic throwback. She would get asked all the time if she was albino, i.e. black, but she wasn't. Replying to the third comment, another person said, "Yeah, that girl is me. Luckily I learned to braid it after high school, but I tell hairstylists how thick my hair is, and they don't get it until it's an hour later and they're only halfway through. When my brother shaved his head, it grew back out in a fro. I was never able to confirm it but always joked it was a Jew fro. During the summer, I have to double French braid it, or it's a nightmare because of how frizzy it gets. It makes me angry hearing people of color being expelled from school or asked to change their hairstyles at work when they wear it naturally. OP needs new friends. They are idiots." Another commenter shared their experience with a black stylist. "My hair was ugly my whole life until I went to a black stylist. I'm whiter than radioactive mayonnaise, but my hair is very much not white people hair as my mom told me constantly growing up. My stylist is fantastic, also incredibly inclusive, and I never feel out of place there, and gave me the most fantastic cut I would have never ever chosen for myself. I would have thought it would look so bad on me, but they asked me if I was willing, and I said yes out of sheer frustration with what I'd been dealing with my whole life. I look so good now. My confidence is off the charts." Finally, another person shared their positive experience with a black hairstylist. "I'm a pale, pasty white girl. I always had straight, maybe wavy hair most of my life. But my hair has become curly as I get older. More big ringlets. I started going to my hair lady a few years ago. She's black and is absolutely amazing. My hair has never looked so amazing, and the curls are incredible. I love it. She is most definitely the reason my hair is in the good condition it is, and the curls are the way they are."
My wife made negative comments about our daughters posing for her school photos. Am I the asshole for getting angry at my wife over this? I, 60, have been married to my wife, 51, for around 15 years. We also have a beautiful daughter named Hyung, 17, who is in her junior year of high school. Yesterday after school, Hyung, pronounced Hyung, came up to me and my wife and showed me her school pictures, both her individual photo and her group grade photo. They were taken all the way back in February, but they had just arrived today. I complimented Hyung and told her how beautiful she looked in the photos, before telling her how proud I was to see her grow up throughout the ages, before showing my wife the pictures of our daughter. It did not go the way I hoped it would go. Instead of looking at it for a bit before saying something, my wife immediately pointed out to Hyung that she was looking too downward at the camera and that her eyes looked strained/forced. I was a bit taken aback at first, but I decided to just keep listening. My wife then said to my daughter that she would have to have rehearsals for school pictures with her for next year, because in my wife's words, Ha-young still doesn't understand how to properly pose, smile and look beautiful for a school picture. I was a bit irritated, but I let it slide. What set me off though, was my wife then said, Ha-young's picture is a fail. Honestly, Melissa looks the prettiest out of everyone. Ha-young got quiet and said, I'm gonna be honest, my picture this year is really bad compared to sophomore year. I got mad that evening. We had a huge argument in the living room. I told my wife that she was being cruel to our daughter, and since school pictures were over, there was no point being so picky over it. My wife retaliated, saying that, even Ha-young says that she doesn't like how she looks in her school picture. I was just being honest, I'm only trying to help her. She then went into her room and started crying, saying that I don't understand her. I will admit, I raised my voice while we were having that argument, and I'm seriously sitting here questioning myself about whether I was an asshole or not. After our argument, I knocked on Ha-young's door and I could tell by her expression that she had listened to every piece of the argument. I feel bad because I may have overreacted to something as simple as school pictures. Plus, I ruined my daughter's evening and my wife's too, and I also made my wife cry. TLDR, I shouted at my wife after she made some comments about my daughter's school photos, and I'm wondering if I'm the age. Edit 1. This is not the first time my wife has said something like this. This is why I feel even more terrible, because I let my daughter suffer like this. I did give my wife a word or two, but I always told Ha-young that this was just the way she spoke and that she really did love her. I really want to cry right now, especially overhearing Ha-young crying herself to sleep last night. She always kept a brave face around me and my wife, but it just breaks me even more, now knowing she feels like she can't talk to me either. I failed her. Ha-young always asked me every morning if she looked beautiful. She would always ask at meal times if she was eating too much. I'm so afraid of the damage we both put her through for so long. I'm so scared she's going to develop an eating disorder, and I'm going to make sure to set things straight with my wife and take care of my daughter better. She is always my first priority. Edit 2. I was taken off guard even though my wife has made responses like this in the past, because though it's not the first time, I had a little bit of hope left that she wouldn't point out Ha-young's appearance that outright in her school photo. Relevant comments. Commenter, I am guessing based on the fake name that your wife is Korean. I know beauty standards there are super high, and she could be projecting her own insecurities and maybe even comments that she got when she was young. Of course this is not okay, but it could be worth sitting down with her and having a talk. OP, you're right, me and my wife are both Korean. The beauty standards there are super tough, so I'm probably going to talk to my wife privately to understand why she said that and check up on Ha-young a bit before talking with my wife. I know she's super shaken up, so the best I can do is be the best father I can. To another commenter. I've lived in the States longer than in Korea now. Commenter, do Korean women tend to have very high beauty maintenance standards? And no, you are not in the wrong. Teenage girls are already extremely sensitive about their looks, so your compliment was kind and nurturing. OP, I cannot speak on the behalf of everyone. I know that the beauty standards are extremely tough there. I've heard people commenting about the fatness, skinniness of people's bodies. I've sometimes heard conversations about K-pop idols' bodies and faces, makeup, surgery, etc. Later that night in comments, hello everyone, OP here. Tonight, since my wife is working a night shift today, I decided I'm going to stay together with Ha-young for a daddy-daughter date. I know it doesn't matter whether we go out or not, all that matters is that I'm with her. I'm planning on making her some of her favorite foods and spending quality time as an apology for not being there when I should have been. She loves japchae, galbi and cream bunjopang. I asked Ha-young beforehand whether she wanted to stay at home or go out, and she wanted to stay home, and she chose to go with the first option. I'll let you know how it goes. Update post, July 16, 2024, about 5 weeks later. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their generous comments and advice. As promised, here is the update. After my wife left for work, I decided to check up on my daughter. She was in her room doing homework, and I could tell by the forced expression that she was not okay. As she talked, everything began to make sense. My daughter overheard her mother shaming her in front of the other church moms. She heard them boasting about their kids, and her mother would use condescending modesty, e.g., she's gained weight and she doesn't even study hard. She was tired of trying to surpass my wife's expectations. She couldn't stand it when my wife was in the house. She asked me, why am I her diamond? She cuts me to make me shine. How more of this should I take? I prepared all the foods I promised to make, and she was hesitant but ate a lot more than when my wife was around. She wanted to further talk with me. I then asked if she wanted me to tell my wife how she felt. Hyung said, it was the only way to get her to listen, before telling me she wants me to get a divorce. I asked her if she was absolutely sure, as it was something very serious. She said she was fine with it. I'm just devastated it has reached this point. When Haeyoung was at school, I had a conversation with my wife. I brought up Haeyoung's concerns, along with mine. I asked my wife what made her put down my daughter on the day of the school picture incident. She made excuses such as having bad days, hence she'd accidentally release her anger and other emotions by yelling, the silent treatment, etc. I questioned further if there was anything in the past that was bothering her, which she replied snarkily, nothing is bothering me. I raised her into a better person. If you have problems with how I'm raising her, she's all yours. I don't want to argue anymore, especially with a sensitive, lazy person like you. We had a lot of arguments in the past on raising Haeyoung. This phrase was used in all of our arguments to shut me up. As Haeyoung was consistently used as an emotional punching bag and a trophy for my wife, this was the last straw. I told my wife, we were done, then told her to pack up and leave. I thanked her for letting me realize my self-worth. After some time had passed, she had driven to her parents' house and was staying there for a bit. When Haeyoung came back, she noticed her mom's room was a lot better than it was and knew what had happened. I hugged Haeyoung and told her I was sorry for the mess I had caused, before reassuring her that nothing was her fault. I told her my ex-wife would come back a few more times to collect the rest of her stuff, but our relationship was over. This event shook me up a lot, but I know things will get better. I'm trying to make Haeyoung always feel loved. Haeyoung, you are my universe, and that will never change. My dad stole my identity and opened 3 credit cards in my name. He told me that since I'm young, I can do without for a few years. I found that my dad used my information to open 3 credit cards over the last year. When I went to get a pre-approval for a mortgage, I was told by the lender they wouldn't be able to give me a home loan because of the defaulted credit cards. They also said I probably wouldn't be able to get a loan from any lender because of it and gave me a sheet of paper explaining what I'd need to do in order to fix it. When I tried disputing the cards, one of which is already in collections, the disputes got closed out as the debts were verified. I told my divorced parents about it and their answers were pretty wildly different. My dad said that these things happen, and that I should be more careful in the future with my social security number. Seeing as I've always been careful, that made me pretty mad. My mom said she thinks my dad might have something to do with it since opening credit cards in her name had a part to play in their divorce. She told me he ran up about $50,000 in credit card debt on secret credit cards. A few days ago, I ended up casually telling my dad I'm going to have to file a police report for the credit cards. He told me I probably shouldn't do that because $15,000 isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. When I told him it was keeping me from buying a house, he said I could just wait a few years until they fell off of my credit report. He said it would only take another 4.5 years. When I told him I obviously couldn't wait that long, so I had to file the police report, he straight up told me not to do it and to just be more careful in the future. Once I told him I already got the paperwork together from the credit agencies, he told me he had opened the cards to pay for living expenses over the last year. He said his work slowed down a little bit, but he'd do what he could to help pay it off. He said it would ruin his life if he went to jail. I'm leaning towards going to the police anyway, but I didn't right that minute. I have everything in front of me today to go make the report. I guess I just want to make sure turning it over to the police is the right thing to do here. Especially if I'm wanting to buy a house this year. Top comments. Comment 1, report him for fraud. OP, that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm realizing if I want to buy a house, I can't have those accounts on my credit. Comment 2, if he wasn't your dad, you'd have reported him already, right? Well, think about this. Why didn't he give you the same respect and not ruin your credit because he's your father? Update 1. I spent about half of the day reading everyone's comments and it pretty much solidified what I was going to do. The process itself was pretty easy. I went to the police department and the person at the front desk had me wait about 10 minutes before an officer came out. We talked for about 15 minutes and he made copies of all of the paperwork I gave him. He told me the case would be assigned to a detective on Tuesday and gave me a pamphlet about how to contact the credit agencies. I was given a report number and was told I could use that now to start disputing the accounts. A detective is going to follow up with me in the next couple of weeks. I asked what would end up happening to my dad and the officer said it looked pretty clear cut to him, but the charging decision is 100% with the state attorney's office. He said if they decide to pursue charges, he'll likely get a warrant put out for his arrest. He also said typically if this is his first felony, he's probably going to get some sort of pretrial diversion with court supervision or probation. He probably won't go to jail for years, but if he gets picked up on a warrant he's going to spend at least a little bit of time behind bars. I've decided I'm okay with that because it's obvious to me he did this purposefully. He's never been arrested before, so hopefully this is a wake-up call for him. At the same time, he completely did this to himself. I'll update whenever I learn more. Top comments. Comment 1, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Sincerely hope everything works out well for you. OP, I think it will. From what I understand, it might take a month or two for the cards to come off of my credit, but once they do, my credit score should shoot up. Comment 2, well done OP. I was so mad on your behalf reading the first post, it would take everything in me not to use his words against him. Jail time? It's just a few years. You've ruined my life. No. You did it by trying to ruin mine. I hope the marks come off your credit report like it's made of Teflon. Good luck on your home ownership journey. Update 2. There's been some good, a little bad, and a little real bad progress the past few days. The good, I used my report number and disputed every account. When I checked my credit last, which everyone should be doing regularly, the one with the lowest balance was already off of my account. The other cards and the collection account are still showing, but I have hope they'll be falling off in the next few weeks. I also received a call from someone at the prosecutor's office who had a couple of extra questions for me and asked if I would be willing to testify if they charged him. I said yes, and they said they would be making a decision on their charges before the end of the month. The bad, obviously, someone talked to my dad about this because the last time he talked, he scolded me for going to the police and hasn't talked to me since. One of my brothers was also pretty mad at me about it and hasn't talked to me in over a week. The rest of my siblings and my mom understood where I was coming from. The real bad, one of my other brothers, not the one who was pissed, found 2 open credit cards on his credit which weren't his. He checked his credit score for the first time in a couple of years and he said it was down about 150 points from where it used to be. He's now in the process of dealing with that. He doesn't have any positive proof, yet, that it was our dad. But the fingers are pointing in that direction. This still blows my mind that a dad could do this to his own children. I'm moving forward though, I still hope to be able to purchase a house before the end of the year. Additional information from OP, also, I think all of my other siblings, there are 6 of us, are checking their credit too. Probably for the best. New update. This is going to be my final update as it seems like this has gone viral and hit a few different big websites. I'm happy to say my credit has completely returned to normal. All of the disputed accounts are now gone. Obviously, I'm excited about this since it gives me a solid financial future. I also received a letter from the prosecutor's office 2 weeks ago and they said they are going forward with a charge of what is basically identity theft. I spoke with an assistant prosecutor and they explained they'd be putting out a warrant shortly, but that as a first-time offender, they'd probably offer a misdemeanor charge and a plea. My dad was arrested last Friday after a traffic stop. He got out of jail the next day and has a new court date in late August according to the Public Records website. He called me and told me I'm dead to him and to never contact him again. My brother who found credit cards opened in his name has made a police report as well, but apparently the addresses are different on the accounts. He was told it was unlikely it would be prosecuted, but he's working on getting them off of his credit. Additional information from OP, just wanted to give everyone who commented in my other posts a shout out. You have all given me the courage to do this. I'm going to be deleting this throwaway because I really hope to put all of this behind me between the news articles and having no contact with my dad. Don't let things like this sneak up on you. It breaks my heart to do this to my dad, but he did this to himself.